What do women really want? It's a question that has fueled jokes at dinner tables, endless debates on social media, and more than a few late-night insecurities. But beneath all the noise, one theme keeps popping up: penis size. You've heard the jokes, the locker room talk, maybe even some offhand comments at parties. Some people brag about how big their partner is. Others quietly share disappointment. And then there's the myth that women only want something extreme, that bigger is always better. But let's pause for a moment and ask the question honestly. Do women really want a 12-inch penis? Or is that just another story we've been sold by movies, media, and cultural exaggeration? I'm here to cut to the myths with real science, not opinions, not clickbait, but actual research. Because once we look at the evidence, the truth is not only surprising, it's actually reassuring for most men. Before we dive in, let me ask you something. How many times have you compared yourself to someone else, whether in a locker room, online, or even in your imagination, and felt not enough? You're not alone. And the good news is, the data shows most of those fears are misplaced. Now, let's look at what researchers have actually found. One of the most clever approaches to understanding preference didn't involve asking women directly. Because let's be honest, social pressure and bravado can shape what people say. Instead, researchers looked at what women actually buy. They analyzed the best-selling sex toys on major websites, specifically those designed for vaginal insertion. Why? Because purchase choices often reflect more honest preferences than survey answers. So what do they find? Across 8 major distributors, the most common insertable lengths purchased by women were between 4 and 6 inches. Yes, you heard that right, 4 to 6 inches. And in 6 of those 8 websites, the best sellers were less than 6 inches long. The average girth? Under 4.5 inches. Now, here's the interesting part. Those numbers are remarkably close to the natural average for men. Most men fall between 5 and 6 inches in erect length, with a girth of about 4.5 to 5 inches. In other words, the majority of men are already right in the sweet spot. Let that sink in for a moment. While media tells you bigger is always better, real-world choices suggest something else. Average is not only normal, it's preferred. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. Another study looked at realistic dildos labeled as bestsellers from top retailers, including Amazon. The average length? About 6.5 inches. Yes, slightly above average, but still not extreme. This hints at curiosity or experimentation, not a universal desire for extremes. Even more telling is what influences buying behavior. Researchers found that price and circumference mattered more than length. Women care more about comfort, affordability, and fit than chasing size. In fact, toys with unusually large girth were often less popular. So what does this all mean? It means that when given complete freedom of choice, most women choose average sizes. Slightly longer, sometimes, but never extreme. It's not about size at all costs. It's about pleasure, comfort, and compatibility with their own body. Now, I want to pause here and check in with you. How does this make you feel? Relieved? Surprised? Maybe even skeptical? Let's recap what we've covered so far. Real data from sex toy purchases shows most women prefer average sizes. Studies on bestsellers confirm slightly above average may spark curiosity, but not extremes. Comfort and emotional experience matter more than inches. And if you're thinking, okay, but what about women who say they want bigger? That's where another layer of research comes in. Some studies have shown that women who report vaginal orgasms tend to have a slight preference for longer length. But again, we're talking modest increases, a half inch, maybe an inch above average, not extremes. This reinforces the idea that satisfaction isn't about chasing size, it's about compatibility. And beyond compatibility, it's about connection. Think about it. What good is size if there's no intimacy, no trust, no communication? The truth is, sexual satisfaction is far more about confidence, emotional closeness, and attentiveness than numbers on a measuring tape. So let me ask you directly, when was the last time you felt truly connected to your partner, where both of you were completely present in the moment? Because that's the space where real pleasure happens. Now, let's take a step back and consider why this myth about size has held so much power. Part of it comes from media, adult films, exaggerated stories, cultural ideals that thrive on comparison. But another part comes from insecurity, the quiet fear of not being enough. And here's where I want to give you a powerful reframe. You don't need to measure up to some fantasy number to be enough. You already are. Your confidence, your ability to communicate, your willingness to learn your partner's desires. Those are the real big factors. If you're still listening, take this as your first call to action. Stop comparing. Stop assuming you're lacking. Instead, start focusing on building confidence and emotional connection. And while you're here, I'd love for you to subscribe to Calm Health Hub. We're building a space where myths are replaced with clarity, where health and intimacy are explored openly, and where you can feel reassured, not pressured. So if this resonates, hit that subscribe button now. It helps you, and it helps us reach more people who need to hear this message. Now, let's dig deeper into one more perspective, what women say they want versus what they actually choose. Surveys often capture social expectations, and women may say they prefer above average. But when it comes to private choices, the story changes. They overwhelmingly choose average because it's not about proving anything. It's about pleasure. This contrast is important because it shows us how much cultural narratives can distort our own perception. If you ever felt pressured by what others say is desirable, remember, actions speak louder than words. And the actions here are clear. Another recap for you. Women's real purchase choices match natural averages. Slight curiosity about bigger exists, but extremes are avoided. Intimacy, confidence, and connection always outweigh numbers. So let's return to the original question. What do women really want? The truth is, most don't want extremes. They want comfort, pleasure, and connection. They want presence and attentiveness. They want someone who understands that intimacy isn't about competing with a number, but about creating an experience together. And if you're a man listening to this right now, worried about whether you measure up, here's the bottom line. If you fall within the average range, and most men do, you are more than enough. You are normal, and you are fully capable of satisfying your partner. Sure, there will always be outliers, people who brag, people who joke, people who exaggerate. But when no one is watching, when women choose in private, they overwhelmingly choose average. And that's worth remembering. So, here's my final call to action for you today. Take care of yourself. Build confidence through knowledge, not comparison. Focus on emotional intimacy as much as physical intimacy. And remember that sexual health is not just about performance. It's about connection, communication, and well-being. If this conversation has lifted some weight off your shoulders, I invite you to share it with someone else who might need reassurance. Let them know they're more than enough, too. And finally, subscribe to Calm Health Hub, because this is just the beginning. We're here to bring you clarity, grounded in science, to replace fear with confidence, and to remind you you are absolutely worth it.